So my comments in my last video were around, you know, black women's hair, okay? Sensitive topic, you know, and my views are not even really a hot take, okay? You guys have heard this argument before, but I'm frustrated in the current state of black hair, all right? And it's for a few different reasons. The first reason is all of the new, you know, studies and stuff that are coming out, you know, talking about toxic hair extensions, you know, specifically braiding hair, right? The one safe space that I thought at least was a safe space for me, because I never really wore a whole lot of wigs and the other stuff, but I was a big braider. And then we come out with these studies saying that there's carcinogens, that there's all these bad practices that are not being monitored and evaluated, and it just, you know, it's a huge downer. But also, you know, when it comes down to like the self-esteem, self-worth, you know, side of the argument. So you guys have heard this all before, you know, and I'm not anti-weave, but I am getting a little bit fed up and I'm getting frustrated with the culture. And so my comments in my last video were around, you know, how, you know, we as a community, you know, make a fuss about our hair. A lot of you guys took that and went straight to the workforce discrimination part of the conversation. And I was like, it's actually not even what I'm talking about. But you know what, since you brought it up, let's get into the workforce chat, okay? So I just want to tell you guys a story. I'm gonna be telling you guys stories. So let's talk about when I first entered the workforce with my natural hair. Let's talk about that. Before I even jump into that, the thing about it is nobody is saying that workforce, you know, hair discrimination doesn't exist. Nobody's saying that. It definitely does. And so here's my story, right? When I first big chopped, I want to say this was like 2008, 2007. I can't even remember, y'all. But I big chopped, and you know, it was because I just really wanted full hair. I was like craving full hair. This was before the YouTube boom with all the natural hair stuff, because I mean, YouTube itself wasn't even invented until 2005. So yeah, the natural hair movement on YouTube hadn't even started yet, right? I just was tired of limp, thin hair because I had a relaxer at that time, and I was like, I'm ready for fullness, you know, I want full hair. So I big chopped, cut off all my perm. Also, permed hair when it's wet, it used to stink to me, right? It's like an odor that it gives off, like a chemical odor. So I was getting tired of that. So I went ahead and cut it off. And I remember I had just started a job at a magazine. It was a luxury magazine. You guys may be familiar if you're in Chicago. It was called Chicago Social. So I had got this new job, you know, working in advertising sales support. I was so excited about it. I had only been there for a few months. I was the only black person in the building. And before big chopping, these folks had only seen me with extensions. I don't think I'd ever worn braids to work during that time, but I was wearing like a lot of extensions and like ponytails. It was real big on ponytails. I would get them drawstring ponytails, put it right here on the top. Long story short, I went to work the next day after doing my big chop, and I was so nervous because, you know, my family had already prepped me, right? Being like, you better think twice about wearing your hair like that, you know, because we have like a 2-inch afro going, right? It wasn't even my immediate family. It was like cousins and friends and stuff like that, because my immediate family was very supportive, but everybody else was like, you better be careful. You better have a plan. Girl, how you gonna do your hair? What's the plan? What's the plan? And I was, you know, buying into it, and I was nervous. And so when I went to work that day, I walked in with my guards up. So I'm ready to get into a tussle. Whoever got something to say, I'm ready for it. So I came prepared. As soon as I walked in the door, we had a door girl, like a front desk girl. This was her reaction when I walked through the elevator. She said, Vaughn, you are so beautiful. And I was like, thank you, girl, you know. But I'm thinking, okay, that's just her opinion. That's just one person. Let me go ahead and go about the rest of my day. Yeah, I'm walking through the office and heads are just turning. People are just, now mind you, this is before I'm even knowing what I'm doing with my hair. The only thing I put on my hair was like some gel. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even knowing how to style it, so I'm not even good at it. I think I even had like a headband on. Like it wasn't even nothing cute. But I got compliments all day long. And it wasn't just compliments being like, I like your hair. People were literally like, dang, I didn't know you were this beautiful. Like it was like that kind of thing. Not verbatim, but that ballpark. I came in here ready to tussle, and nobody's even saying anything negative. And then on my way home, you know, back to the south side, okay, I'm on the train, I'm on the red line. I'm getting stares from like black people checking out my hair, and I'm getting compliments, okay? The compliments were more along the lines of, dang, your hair is cute. I could never pull that off, you know? Or what products did you use to get your hair curly like that? Like, what did you do? And then this one guy even called me a Nubian queen, okay? So I was getting compliments all all around. So the stuff that my family was prepping me for, where's the negativity? I haven't experienced any of it. So while I do believe that discrimination in the workplace does exist, I've just never experienced it. The thing that sticks out to me is not whether or not I'm gonna get discriminated against in the workplace. The part that stands out to me is that all of the naysayers were people who were closest to me. It was not people who didn't know me or barely knew me. It was the people who knew me best. And they were the ones trying to tear down my self-esteem about my hair, because they were the ones projecting their insecurities onto me. They were the ones insecure about their natural hair. I wasn't. I had to learn to reject that, right? All through the rest of my awkward phase of my hair, growing it out and all that, I didn't have to walk around fearful that somebody was not gonna like it. I actually went into rooms expecting to get compliments, because that's just where it was taking me, you know? So I had a really great experience with returning to my natural hair. I realized that not everyone has had that experience. I'm sad about that, and I'm frustrated with that, and I'm fed up with like that. But my thing is, you know, those kind of interactions create trauma in us, right? Trauma as like a community. It's like a shared trauma that we all have. And my only thing is, at the place that we are now in 2025, when it comes to the trauma around, you know, beauty standards, it's time to heal. All right, so a quick story I'll share right here before we move on. So this is my sister. Many of my OG subscribers know exactly who she is, because we started our natural hair YouTube channels together years ago. She and I worked together at a university, right? On this picture, we're here sitting in my cubicle. So anyway, one day, one of our white male coworkers made a remark to her that was blatantly racist. It was so out of pocket, it was not even funny. It's like something out of a movie. She did what any sister would do, and she came straight to my desk to tell me about it. And her biggest thing was, is this serious enough to take to HR? She was worried about retaliation and stuff. I told her absolutely not, report it right now, like go right now to HR. So she went and reported it, and the guy ended up getting terminated like an hour later. Like, you know, of course she didn't mean for him to get fired, but HR was like, you know, we have a zero tolerance policy. Thanks for letting us know, and we got to let him go. It was still a huge eye opener though for us, because neither one of us had ever experienced anything like that at work. We had only ever heard about it, and so it was kind of like surreal in that moment. But yeah, like I said, you know, stuff like this has never specifically happened to me, but I'm very aware that the workplace can be a very toxic place for Black people, and I've experienced up close what that can look like. And just as an added bonus, guess what happened next? So I was starting to get frustrated with even working at this place, and I ended up going on Facebook and was talking smack about the company, and I got fired. And then they had the nerve to try to come after me for defamation, and lost. So that's the workplace stuff. I'm setting that to the side. Moving on to the real purpose of the comments that I made in my last vlog. Those comments were around the fuss that we make around our hair, okay? And when I say fuss, I mean making things more difficult than they need to be. Why is that? Because we're constantly trying to do things to our hair that don't come natural to it. And what we've done is we've fallen in love with the unnatural version of our hair, whether it's extensions, straightening, you know, all these products, all these techniques, all this fuss. We've fallen in love with the fuss part, and we have not fallen in love with the soft, natural, comfortable part, which is allowing our hair to do what it wants to do and us not dictating to it. Because y'all know I'm a braid girl. I'm a go on vacation braid girl. I've always been that. But here's where the story turned. Here's the plot twist, okay? When I was pregnant with Ava and we were going to Egypt for my dad's birthday, do y'all remember? I have a whole vlog series about that. It's right here if y'all want to see our time in Egypt. But there were things going on during that trip that were never vlogged and never discussed. Before we left, y'all remember I was trying to set up a braid appointment because I'm like, I gotta have braids, you know, I'm going on vacation, you know. That's what you do. You know, a Black girl, you get your hair braided before you go on vacation. There's no way you're dealing with your natural hair while on vacation. You got to get these braids. So I made a braid appointment, and then it ended up getting canceled at the last minute. So I had to braid my own hair, and I had to like go and figure out what hair. I had to go to the beauty supply. I had to get them back here. I had to stay up trying to braid my hair, and there's all this fuss. That's the fuss I'm talking about. All this fuss about getting these braids done. All right, because I'm buying into the idea that you don't deal with your natural hair. You don't worry about your natural hair on vacation. You need to have these extensions in, okay? So we get on the trip. I got my braids, okay? And there's this other traveler with us who is natural, and she's got her natural hair out for the trip. I noticed it immediately. As soon as we got to the airport, I noticed, I said, she's got her natural hair out. There's no braids. Everybody else had some kind of extensions going on. Everybody else. This one lady didn't, okay? So I'm looking at her, I'm like, okay. Every day of the trip, she's waking up and she's not making a fuss about her hair. Every day it's a ponytail. Every day it's a this or that. Something simple. And I was just watching her secretly, and I'm thinking, this lady can just like go and wash her hair. You know, she doesn't have to worry about any of the scalp itching and all these different things because she doesn't have extensions. She's got her natural hair. And there was just a little bit in me that was like jealous that she got to experience such a carefree vacation, such a soft life, you know, type vacation, and not have to worry about all of the hoopla that goes into getting your hair done before a trip. And I remember thinking then, like, I was just like, you know, looking around and just seeing all the black people with these braids and things like that. And, you know, I'm not judging anyone. These are just my reflections, working through my thoughts. And some of my thoughts were just around how it just seems so unfair to me that we're the only group that has to like worry about our hair when we travel. Everybody else gets to be carefree and sit in their comfort of naturalness while we fuss over our hair. And my point was that nobody told us we needed to fuss about our hair. Nobody told us that braids were required for travel. Nobody told us that we couldn't have our natural hair out in humid weather. We created those standards for ourselves. Other groups of people don't even know why we do it. They don't know anything about it. We did that to ourselves. So that was the self-inflicted thing I was talking about. We created these standards. We're the ones who said if we go into a humid environment and our hair reacts to the humidity just like everybody else's hair, that is unacceptable to us. We cannot have that. We need to do something to it to stop it from reacting that way. We told ourselves that. Nobody told us that.
Let me clarify now while I have the chance. I am not asking people to go out and start wearing swollen afros for your next vacation tomorrow, okay? That requires a deep level of work that most of us have not even scratched the surface on. And I also want to take a moment to defend braids, right? I think braiding is an art form, and I do feel privileged in a lot of ways to be one of the special people who can do it. I will always love braids. But when we rely on them to the point where our natural hair is damaged beyond recognition, we have to take a moment to evaluate why. Because I don't think they were ever invented as a tool to avoid our hair. I think it was always meant to showcase it. But unfortunately, y'all, I gotta let the braids go indefinitely because, you know, the issue with the chemicals and the braiding hair has to get resolved first. So I'm definitely not asking us to shun braids. What I'm asking you is to imagine a world where it was the norm to see black hair in its natural state. What if everywhere you looked, you saw black hair in its natural form? Places like on stage, on Wall Street, in the White House, on yachts, or even at the corner store. And then ask yourself, how do you think that would impact how you viewed your hair? Don't share the answer with me. Just hold it close to yourself and reflect on it. And of course, by now we are all aware of the doors that opened and unleashed this kind of white supremacist, Eurocentric, you know, standards of beauty. I am just asking us to find the exit.
And while I do think it's harmless, mostly, you know, to get your extensions before your trip or whatever you need to do to make yourself comfortable. But at the same time, we're not all doing it for the same reasons. Some of us are doing that because that's the only way we're gonna feel pretty on our trip. And that's the part that bothers me. You can do whatever you want. Of course, you can do whatever you want, but I can't turn my brain off when I see it. And I sometimes feel sad when I see it because I've had the conversations with some women and I know that this is what they feel they need to do in order to be beautiful. And I don't like that. I don't like it. It bothers me. It bothers me. And then I started thinking about all the different occasions where we have to have a plan for our hair before participating. Whether it's attending somebody's wedding, whether it's your own wedding, whether it's any special occasion, whether it's picture day. We feel like we have to show up with extensions, with somebody else's hair, with a wig on, with something. There always has to be a plan for our hair. We can't never just be comfortable and just show up and just get in the pool, hair get wet, squeeze it out and keep going. We always have to have like all of these rules and fears. And you know, and it just makes me sad. You know, I'm sure there are people who dabble in different hairstyles who don't have a confidence problem. I am not talking about you. I'm not. I'm talking about the people who I know exist because I've had conversations with them and they're like, I'm trying to get ready for this party, so I need to go to the beauty supply and buy a pack of hair because I need to figure out my hairstyle. These are people who the option of wearing their natural hair it doesn't exist for them. That's who I'm talking about when I say we self-inflict the fuss around our hair, because it doesn't have to be fuss, right? You can go on vacation with your hair out, the humidity can take effect and your hair can swell up, and guess what? you can still have a good time. You can be all right. And it doesn't have to be high maintenance because you're letting your hair do what comes natural to it. That's the differentiator. That's when it goes left, because we say we like our natural hair, but we only like it if it's defined. We only like it if we can smooth the edge. We only like it if it's being able to be manipulated the way we want to manipulate it. And we have to ask ourselves, why? Why does my hair have to be manipulated in these very strenuous kind of ways in order for me to like it? Why don't I like it right out the shower? I know we have a long way to go before we get to a point where we can actually honestly say, I like my hair with no product on it. You get what I'm saying? I know we got a long way to go because we've been through a lot. We've been through trauma around our hair. But I just think that where we are now, it's time for healing. Like I told y'all, this has been going on for a while for me, these thoughts. I've been having these thoughts for a minute. And it was something about that Egypt trip, right? That was my first time going to Egypt, it was something about that trip which created a turning point for me because of the fuss around, gotta get these braids, and I'm just like, why? Why do I gotta get these braids, And if your excuse is, oh, my hair is high maintenance, it's only high maintenance because you making it high maintenance, because you're making it do stuff that it don't really want to do, and that's why it's hard. Hair care, no matter the texture, no matter the climate, can be easy breezy if you just let your hair be. And so that's what I hope to demonstrate this year, right? With all this training and all this traveling, all these hot, humid climates and all this different stuff, I want to show y'all that this is how you can move effortlessly with your hair and not have to resort to wigs and weaves, especially if you're one of those people like me who don't really want to do all that stuff, right? I want to just pack my bag and leave, really, that's really how I want to move. But I've often felt pressures through the years to conform to the norm, right? If I go on vacation, I'm the only one with my natural hair out. Everybody else has boho braids and all this other stuff, and I'm the one with the afro that's getting swollen with the humidity. I used to feel insecure in those spaces, right? So when you hear me talk and I'm frustrated, it's not about you, it's about me. I'm frustrated, okay? So you don't need to get offended by me being frustrated. I'm frustrated with myself. But yeah, I would feel pressured, and the pressure was what was making me feel frustrated, So those are things that I'm working on. And if you are interested in this self-actualization journey that I'm on with my hair, then just keep on watching. My vlogs will show you guys, kind of the unfolding of this journey for me. And really what I want for this community is I want us to stand tall and confidently in our unique beauty, because y'all know I'm into the study of human history and stuff like that. And I know the truth about the original man, how different features, came about, and the different mutations that took place, over millennia. And I know that there's no real reason for us to feel insecure about our hair. This is the mother of all hair. Everything else was just an environmental adaptation. So this is the original hair. This is what was intended for the human head.
And no, I'm not a YouTube University graduate with this stuff, okay? I first became interested in evolutionary biology in college when I took an intro to anthropology class as like an elective or whatever. I've read more on it recently, and of course I've been enjoying videos online about it, but I've come to some of my own conclusions through the material. So let's get some evolutionary facts out there first, right? So human life originated in sub-Saharan Africa. This is widely accepted in the scientific community. Black people who are alive today are the closest living things to what the original man may have looked like. All you have to do is look up the Hadzabe people of Tanzania or the Khoisan people of Namibia. They never left sub-Saharan Africa and are considered the world's oldest hunter-gatherer society. And while they still underwent evolutionary changes just like everyone else around the world, the hair and skin remains largely unchanged. And that's simply because the environment remained largely unchanged. Straight hair is a genetic mutation that emerged only around 65,000 years ago when Homo sapiens migrated out of Africa to more harsh climates. The same thing with blue eyes and light skin. Having textured hair is literally the definition of iconic because it persisted through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. Not only should we be proud to have it, we should be showcasing it every chance we get. It's not even unique because it's not new. It's the oldest form of head covering that ever existed for humans. It's literally the blueprint for human hair. It should be on the cover of everything. Biologists know this. Scientists know this. They've been knowing this. You go on places like Reddit or Quora, you'll come across racists on there. They're upset because they have to come to the realization that their ancestors are Africans. So in conclusion, looking down on black hair is completely irrational. It's almost idiotic. But the only way to get the rest of the world to see that is if we recognize it first.
And I'm bothered by by the fact that we're so insecure about it. It bothers me. So yeah, that's what I meant. I know some of you guys are still going to be offended by that because you're going to think I'm judging you based on your hair decisions and things like that. I just have to eat that. You know, I gotta just wear that because that's what it's gonna be. That's just that little bit of clarity that I thought you guys might have needed because there was just a little too much talk about the workplace stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't really mean workplace necessarily, you know, when I was talking about, you know, hairstyle appropriateness. It was more so around like occasions. Thank you, bud. Oh yeah, and one more thing I wanted to add, that when it comes to trauma responses, which is what I think a lot of this is when we talk about the trauma of having our hair discriminated against, spoken poorly about, you know, I think it causes trauma. Hold on, little baby, come back. I think we have to be careful because the children are watching, right? And some of these kids, most of these kids, all they see is, I never see mama's hair. You get what I'm saying? They don't know why you're doing it. They just see that they never see your hair. It's always somebody else's hair attached. It sends an interesting message to the kids, you know, and I have some friends who have daughters and they wear weave all the time, and their daughters ask some very interesting questions, and the little babies want the weave, you know, because they see you with it, so they want it. And it's just, to me, like, I think we're driving it in a certain direction that we are not really thinking it through. You know, I think we'll regret it later. And when that happens, we're basically raising generations to kind of not really understand their hair and putting them in the same boat that we're in. We need to make a change for the kids. You know, just like with hairstylists and stuff, you know, there's discrimination even there because hairstylists weren't even really being taught how to manage natural hair. Why would they? Nobody's showing up in their chair with natural hair. I mean, I'm talking like in the 90s, you know, everybody had the perms. So why would they learn how to manage natural hair? 100% of their clientele is coming in with relaxers. I mean, you give what you get, you know, like we're setting the tone for how we want the rest of the world to respond to us. If we're walking around with wigs on all the time, whenever we're trying to be beautiful, you know, every special occasion we're showing up with a wig, we're telling the rest of the world that we don't like our hair. So you don't have to like it either. Because what other message are we sending? Oh, I know the one we're sending. We're letting them know that we have style options. So again, I know y'all ain't gonna like what I'm saying, but I'm just saying, this is how I feel. This is my opinion. You don't have to adopt my opinion, but this is what it is. And then one time when I was at this job, another company, it was more of a mixed environment. You know, my hair was natural, it was a little bit longer. So I came to work one day with my hair straightened, and one of the black coworkers was like, now I like this style. And I was like, my response to her was, I do too, but I like it better curly. You know, I just said it like that, and it was kind of a cute little exchange, and that was that. But that was a microaggression. You know what I mean? Like you were trying to tell me that you prefer it straight. You thought the straight hair was a better decision than when I wear it kinky. Okay, then when I wear it kinky. So yeah, stuff happens. But I do also remember when it comes to the white people, right? The non-blacks, I would always get a comment about my hair whenever I changed it. So like I used to wear, you know, extensions and sew-ins and stuff like that. And every time I would do that and I would come to work, somebody had to say something. Oh, your hair is different. It would be somebody who never commented before, and then they would come up and be like, your hair is always different. That was a microaggression. And here's the thing, you know, some people will hear stuff like that and freeze up, right? Fight or flight type stuff. You know, they would just freeze up and not know what to say. But I knew exactly what to say. I used every moment as a teaching moment. I really did. And whether or not they have the intention to do this or not, but it definitely can feel a little embarrassing, you know, for somebody to be like, oh, you have weave in your hair today. You know, it's kind of like, you know, but it's mostly ignorance, you guys. It's ignorance. It's people who really don't understand our hair. Some of us don't even understand it. Some of us don't even understand the hair that is growing out of our heads. And I know that for a fact just from being in the natural hair community for the many years that I was. The questions that I would get about hair care, you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it. People really don't get it, and that's because we had the relaxers for so long. We got the relaxers when we were 4 years old, and then we don't know anything about our hair. We don't. You know, we had to learn from scratch. I actually had a different experience there. Let me talk about my hair journey real quick. I didn't get a perm until I was going to prom. Okay, Johnny Wright, the hairstylist, Johnny Wright was the first person to give me my first perm. All the years leading up to that, we didn't have perms. And because my grandmother used to tell us we had good hair and we didn't need it, okay? It was a toxic comment, but in a lot of ways it was like, okay. at least I don't feel bad, you know, not having a perm like all the other kids. Because in our community where we grew up, if you didn't have a perm and if you weren't getting your hair done like with braids and different styles like that, then you were seen as like poor. You know, it was like a socioeconomic implication. And I remember feeling some of that, you know, growing up. And my mom, you know, she would style our hair. We would wear pigtails all the time. That was our thing. My mom couldn't braid. She didn't know how. That's why I know how to braid, because I had to teach myself because I wanted braids. She couldn't braid. So we would just have pigtails all the time. And I'm telling you, all of our friends would be getting their hair braided. They would be getting their perms and all this different stuff. And they were like, the Moore girls ain't got no money, you know? So like, it's a lot, like culturally, that we go through, like growing up with black hair. It's a lot to be said about it. Experiences vary, but I think overall it's kind of like a traumatic journey. Like, you know, everybody has like a horror story, you know, whether it happened when you were little or when you got to the workplace. You know, we go through a lot with our hair. And I think my story is a little bit unique just because I went through like a large majority of my life without a relaxer. I only had a perm for like 6 years. So I had a perm all through college. All through college I had a perm, and then towards the end of college I started growing out my new growth, and that's when I big chopped right after college when I started going into the workforce. So yeah, it's really interesting. Perm years were college years, and that was like it for me. And then all of my adulthood has been natural, back to natural. But yeah, don't think of these comments that I'm making as a thing of oh, she's attacking us and judging us. Y'all, it's a lot about me and my own trauma, and it's really just me being frustrated and disappointed at the current state of black hair. I am frustrated, okay? I want more for us, and I'm not seeing us getting any closer to that, and it just bothers me, that's all. Like, we were on a roll for a little while, you know, when the natural hair boom kind of kicked off, and then it really proved itself to be just a fad. Like, a lot of people were saying like the natural hair, you know, explosion is gonna be just a fad. People are only trying to do it just so they can get in on the new products and this and that.
I'm just popping in here real quick with a memory that just came to me as I was editing this. Y'all, during the natural hair movement, it was a lot of foolishness going on. I just want to share a funny story with y'all. I'm not gonna call no names, but I do have a family member who went natural during the big natural hair explosion, and she had never experienced her natural hair before because she had a perm when she was very, very young. And so she has a sibling who never had a perm, and she just assumed that her hair texture would be like that of her sister. So when she went natural and discovered that it wasn't, she went and got a perm and acted like nothing ever happened. This is the type of stuff that was going on during that time. When I tell you, people wanted the look and not the lifestyle.
And just like they predicted, it's starting to fade away again. People are returning to relaxers despite all the research that told us they were toxic and dangerous to our health. People are still returning to them, and people are wearing more wigs and weaves than ever before. And we are just dissing our own hair. We're dissing our own natural hair, and we're sending a message to the rest of the world that they don't have to respect it either, because we ain't really respecting it. And our hair ain't good enough for vacations. It ain't good enough because it's gonna swell up, and we don't like that, and we think other people don't like it. And I'm telling y'all, I never get anything but compliments when my natural hair is out, baby. Nothing but compliments from people. I don't know if they trying to pander to me or what it is, but I'm just telling you, I don't get no funny looks or nothing, baby. I get compliments. People be staring at me. So that's why I said sometimes it seems like it's all in our heads. Like, we think when we get out the pool we look crazy and nobody thinks we're cute. And wait, Ava? But we actually look good. We look natural. We look soft. We look happy. We look unique. We look, you know, in some cases exotic. You know, it's cute. It's not a problem. It's not something to fuss over. You just need to stop forcing your hair to do something it doesn't want to do. That's all you need to do. But if you choose not to, I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you how I feel. If none of this is making sense to you, that's fine too. So yeah, this was a long little chat session, and I had to insert some clips here and there because Ava decided to join. But I just wanted to spend some time chatting with y'all about that. Okay, so I had to come into the laundry room for this because this is the type of drama and stuff that my husband has zero tolerance for. I cannot talk about this kind of stuff in front of him. But yeah, let me chat really quick. Okay, I'm right here where Sansa is outside. So if she starts barking in the background, just stay with me, okay? When I recorded the first part of this video of me having my long chat with y'all, that was earlier on in the comment exchange on said video, okay? In real time, I'm just looking back at my comments and I'm seeing new comments, and I pretty much responded to the people who deserved a response, people who have their emotions in check and they seem to truly be seeking clarity on my statements. So those people got a response from me. Everybody else who was talking shit or whatever, they don't get a response. Or just like emotionally irate and just wanting to vent, wanting to cyberbully me, those people don't get responses. It's the same thing like with road rage, how people are in their cars, somebody gets cut off, they're flicking you off, they're doing all this cursing and all this stuff in the safety of their cars. They would never do any of these things if you had cut them off in line in the grocery store. So people are different online, and I know that, and so I'm not going to feed into it. I'm also deciding to cut comments off. Whenever I cut comments off, it's always a premeditated decision. It's never anything irrational in the moment. I always know way ahead of time when I'm recording that I'm gonna turn comments off, because I don't want no clapbacks. You know, this is not a tit for tat. I say this, then you come back and say that. Well, what about this? And then we don't need that. Just listen to me when I tell you what I was thinking, and then you can go forth and be well. Because I do realize I will not be able to change a lot of people's minds. They're gonna be like, nope, that's what you meant, and that's how I'm taking it, and I don't like you no more, and you know, that's gotta be okay with me. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't want all of that energy because I'm getting ready to be enjoying myself. I'm getting ready to be traveling and all this stuff. I don't want to get further negative comments for my own mental health. The comments that I'm getting are really sad. It is really, really sad. And I'm gonna let it go very shortly here because I have the tools to do so. But it definitely is a really sad thing that is happening right now. And I don't know if some of y'all are like new or what, but I am not new to natural hair. I am not new to natural hair content. I am not new to natural hair culture. I have been doing this since 2009. When I first started on YouTube, I was not doing vlogs. I didn't have a family. I didn't have all this stuff. I was simply doing hair videos. And me and my sister, the person that you saw earlier in the video, we were doing it together. We were a team. Me and my sister got really popular doing natural hair content. We went to a lot of different places all over the United States. We went all, through Europe, and we did all these things. And the main thing that we were doing when we traveled was sitting on panels. I have done multiple panels on multiple panels on multiple panels about subject matter around black hair, workforce discrimination, natural hair when you're trying to date, natural hair with your family, natural hair for photo shoots. I mean, I've covered everything. So even the stuff that I was saying to you guys earlier in the video, it's not new. But maybe some of y'all are new and y'all think I'm just some black girl living in the suburbs with natural hair. That is not the case.
Look, there's plenty for us to disagree on. Trust me, I realize we're not a monolith, but trust me, when it comes to black hair, like, please find somebody else to play with. And then y'all came on here trying to teach me about the Crown Act. What do you think helped influence that kind of reform? It was the natural hair community. We were a force in the 2010s. Like, do your research. We were making noise. We turned the black beauty industry on its head. We not only influenced your friends to big chop, we also influenced hair care brands to make products specifically for us. We made brands improve their product ingredients. We had brands dropping the prices on relaxers. They couldn't even give that stuff away. We took over entire hair care aisles in your favorite mega stores and beauty supplies. We influenced hair education. We sent hairstylists back to school to learn how to do our hair. People were dropping books and TV shows. The entire hair care industry opened up and made room for naturals. It was an extremely big deal. And it was an absolute pleasure to have been a part of that. And you know what? I ain't gonna lie. When y'all first brought up the workplace stuff in the comments, I thought y'all were bringing it up as an example of like times when we had no choice but to fuss over our hair, right? And that's why I responded to a few people at first with a little about my experience in the workplace and me basically saying that I hadn't experienced a whole lot of negativity towards my hair, because one of the things we would do on the hundreds of panels I sat on is we would talk about ways to embrace our hair at work. And we'd even demonstrate, different style options. And this was all to help women feel confident so that they didn't have to use their jobs as an excuse to not go natural. But even those discussions were more around confidence and not so much about actual illegal actions being taken against people's hair choices. So, it took me a few minutes to kind of realize it, but it wasn't until a few comments later that I realized that what y'all were actually accusing me of. Like, if I would have known that y'all bringing up the workplace stuff was not just an example and it was actually what y'all thought I meant, I would have came out the gate swinging like, oh, hell no, that is not what I'm talking about.
It's not even the fact that you guys misunderstood what I was trying to say in my previous video. It's all of the commotion that is coming after that, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, I disagree with a statement that was made based on how I interpreted it, than to be like, this is the interpretation, this is what you meant, this is who you are, and that's it. that's it. I have the final word. And I'm just like, are y'all crazy? While I understand where the confusion came in, I am not a villain. I am not your enemy. I am not out to get you. And then someone accused me of gaslighting. And I'm like, what do I have to gain by gaslighting you? Like, do I secretly work for these corporations where I'm just trying to team up with them to oppress you in the workforce? Like, even the accusations that are being made, I can't even really legitimize it, because I'm like, how does this play out in real life? Like, what is my benefit in any of this? And I'm gonna tell you, if I was really trying to finesse, I would be trying to pander to you. That would be the way to go. Because if I'm like just exploiting, you know, black women, that would be the thing I would do. I'd be on here telling you everything you wanted to hear every single day. It just doesn't make sense. And the word gaslighting came out, and I'm like, actually, I feel like I'm being gaslit, honestly, if you know what I mean? Because you guys are making me think that I meant something that I actually didn't, because I had to go back and be like, well, let me watch the video through the lens of like the viewer and like see what they saw. Because it's hard when you're the one in front of the camera, you're the one editing, you know, like I can do a whole rant right in front of the camera. When I put it on my computer and start editing it and chopping it out, I am removing context. What would be context to you? I'm removing stuff because I'm trying to make it concise. I'm trying to get right to the point. So sometimes what I think I'm getting across, I might not actually be getting across because I've removed some important pieces that the viewer needed. But even in this case, I'm like, okay, well, let me watch it and see, like, what did I say that may have led down that path? And I tried to be as objective as possible, and I'll have to say I can understand where the misunderstanding may have come in at. I understand, I get it. When I watched it, I was like, okay, maybe that can be interpreted as this. You know, but it's like I was in my own head when I was saying it, and I was in my own head when I was editing it. I mean, I am definitely able to acknowledge where what I said can be consistent with messages around workplace discrimination around hair. It does line up. The only thing that don't line up to me is the part where I said it's self-inflicted. What would that mean? Does that mean that I'm saying y'all are wearing the wrong hairstyles to work? Would that mean that I'm saying that, I don't know, because I just know I was saying it because I was talking about the need to wear weave, and it's just not necessary, and it's creating fuss and stress in your life because it's creating fuss and stress in mine. So I just said it. And even when I went back and looked at the footage, I'm like, well, maybe I should just show them the unedited version and just let them see me digging in my nose and doing all the things I do when I'm recording. Just let them see that so they can like piece it together from there. But even with that, I was watching, I'm like, no, I don't think I said enough. I think they'll still interpret it as what they interpreted it as something negative. So I said, no, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, y'all, and like the fact that I've been out of the workforce for almost 10 years, I don't even think about offices. And here's the other thing. I started thinking like, well, who do I know that works in an office? Y'all, I don't even know anybody for real. Like my mom, my sisters, my dad is retired, all of my friends, Stephanie, Erin, Martina, my aunt, like everybody works from home. So like, I don't even think about office dynamics anymore because I'm so far removed from any of that. I don't even think about it. And so for me to come onto my video, I'm doing my hair in the mirror, and then suddenly I'm just gonna think about, you know, discrimination in the workplace, and I'm gonna be like, today is the day I'm gonna talk to them about that and make sure that they know that it's really not discrimination, it's all in their heads. Like, why would I even do that? It just doesn't make sense to me. The only stuff that I've really been talking about recently on my channel around my hair has been traveling and you know, training, hairstyles for training, because I'm training for this marathon. I've been really consumed with that, and I've been like, you know, grappling with myself, you know, with like whether or not I should get extensions to have my hair styled through it, and the fact that I'm pushing back on those things because I don't think that I need to have them. There's still that pressure because other people are asking me, you gonna be doing all the training? You gonna get braids? Like, you know, it's different things like that. So a lot of this stuff has been going through my mind recently. So that's why I started talking about it. I just wish I could go back in time and start off the conversation with just that, like a preface, but there's nothing I can do about it now. I was just in the moment doing my hair, and I was like, and I just went right into it. So that part I regret, but you know, it's like I want to apologize to y'all because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't want to disappoint people. There's all of that eating at me. But at the same time, how do I apologize for something that I did not do? How can I apologize about that? All I can do is come on here and tell y'all the truth of what was happening in my head when you heard what I was delivering to you. That's all I can do at this point. What is more consistent with the work that I've done around hair in the natural hair community? Me saying that workforce discrimination is not a real thing or me saying I'm tired of us putting weave and covering our hair and making ourselves stress about our hair when we travel and train for marathons. Like which one sounds more realistic, you know? Just think about that for a second. And I get it, sometimes creators can come out the woodwork with some weird shit, but not me. I also realized that some of the comments from what I actually meant will be offensive to some people. I get that. I was prepared for that. If somebody's coming in the comments like, I like to wear weave and it's not because I'm insecure, I was prepared for that. I was not prepared for this. So I apologize for not being thoughtful enough in my delivery. Okay, that's something I can hold myself accountable to. You might send something up and it don't land the way you thought it was, you know? And another thing a commenter said, I actually had a dialogue with this person that stood out to me because nobody has ever said anything like that to me before. But she was basically saying, you know, she assumed, you know, that I meant something about the workforce or whatever. And so why wouldn't I acknowledge that potentially it could have been taken different ways and then just say, I didn't mean that, I meant this, instead of just saying, I meant this. It's a small detail, but I actually could see how that could be productive. But I guess I got my YouTube cherry popped, you know, because this is my first time ever making a video like this. Like, in the, how many years have I been on YouTube? So I had 2 channels. I had another channel before that I had created first, and it was in like 2010, I think, maybe late 2009. A lot of even the OGs don't even know that I had that channel. And I had like grew my audience to like 13,000 subscribers or something like that. And then I had to shut the channel down and start over because YouTube demonetized my channel. And I was like, oh no. And I'm glad I did that, no regrets. So I started over. And, you know, because when they would demonetize you, they would still get paid. You wouldn't. So that's the thing. I mean, you know, if somebody's getting paid, it's going to be the creator. So I went ahead and shut that channel down and started a new one. And that's the one that I have right now. That one has been in existence since 2013, I think. No, not 2013. 2011. Yeah, never been here before, but here we are. So admittedly though, in the beginning I never really used to talk to y'all for real. Like I used to just do my hair and go, and then I started doing the vlogging because it was fun. And honestly, the community connections that I was making with you guys was far more meaningful than the hair content stuff, because you guys would see the hair content, you would maybe share the video with a friend like, oh, do your hair like this. But it really wasn't as much of a community as it is now, because it's more of like sharing personal stuff. So I don't regret the transition. I still don't. But yeah, this is something different right here. This is interesting. Like I said, this is my last time talking about this because, you know, I know it's a bunch of y'all who, it's like different groups, right? It's people who are like, yes, we about to get her. Yeah, let's, you know what I'm saying? And then you got the people who are like, I am just really hurt that you would say that. The genuine people. And then you got the people who are like, what happened? What'd she say? I already know. So I'm not gonna bore you guys with drawing this out longer than it needs to be. We're gonna move on because we're adults and we can make adult decisions. We either gonna stick around, we're gonna, you know, figure things out together, or we're gonna move on. We can do that too. And it's just crazy that, you know, so many of you have followed me for so many years, even the new people. So I'll go and click on a commenter and I'll see all these other like really lovely comments that they made on my page. And then to think that a 30-second clip of me just talking about my opinion like changes everything. That's weird. That's kind of weird. The part of the responsibility in this that I am able to assume, poor presentation. You can't just start talking and word vomiting on the vlog and putting it on the internet. You need to be careful, right? So I'll take that. I'm not gonna apologize for talking passionately about black hair, because y'all will sit there and watch me style my hair, ask me questions about my hair, follow me all around my house. I can talk about how I feel about my hair. So that's gonna stay. But next time I will take a little bit more care and I will be careful about how I present the information, you know, and this is exactly why I'm always explaining, always talking and rambling. I've gotten comments in the past, people being like, you talk too much, you just rambling on and on. This is why, because when I don't explain, Somebody else explains it for me.
I just have a hunch that I want to share of what I think actually happened. So I think some of y'all heard my message and couldn't unpack it right away on your own. So you came to the comments for clarity, and that was the turning point. And that was also my fault because I was kind of cryptic because I had planned on diving deeper into the subject matter later. Because let me tell you what I saw one commenter do. Her very first comment was about a stroller, which didn't actually appear until the lower third of the video. She then went back and made another comment where she was responding to another commenter about my controversial message. Her last and final comment was a complete buy-in that I was gaslighting Black women and a whole summary of her emotions towards me that resulted. And that was just one commenter's journey through my video. I'm predicting that that probably happened with a few people.
Here's the thing, right? Where do we go from here? I try to put myself in you guys' shoes. You know, I am also a content consumer just like you guys are. I have people I follow, people who I love watching. You know, if they say something that seems out of place, the first thing I always think is, like, this doesn't fit with what I know this person to be like, so something is off. You know, like I automatically start like, you know, looking for where the inconsistency sort of came from. I don't think I would ever like just jump right into the comments with all these assumptions and just start going off. Like I don't, even if, not even like, okay, I'm using my MsVaughnTV account and this is gonna be embarrassing for me. No, it could be a Finsta account. You get what I'm saying? Like nobody knows who I am. I'm still not gonna like do that. And I just think some of y'all don't realize like the things I've sacrificed over the years in order to help women with their hair. Why would I sit up here and talk smizak about their hair and tell them that the discrimination that is occurring out of all of the trials and tribulations that we've been through to get to this point, to be able to walk around and say, this is cute, why would I go and just snatch that away? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I can't understand why you guys would think that. So I don't know. It's just, you know, I'm gonna wash my hands of it here because, like I said, my mental health, this is not something that I need right now. But I definitely wanted to come on here and just drop this video as my response, my final response. Comments will be off. If you need to talk to me and you really want to get something off and you really want to have a mature dialogue, you can email me and I will respond directly to you. But all of this ganging up in the comments and all this cyberbully bandwagon stuff, we're not doing it. For all of you guys who are watching this and you're like, what is happening? What is going on? What is she talking about? I know. It's drama, and I just think we have bigger fish to fry as a community. Like, this is just divisive and this is just a waste of time. This is a distraction. So again, in conclusion, I'm sorry for the discomfort that I caused. For anyone who felt personally attacked or felt let down. I mean, you can't please everybody, but for some of y'all, you know, it's not something I would want for you. I don't want you to feel disappointed, but I do realize I can't make all of y'all happy. You get what I'm saying? But for those who may have just needed that extra bit of clarity, I hope this was that for you.
I just want to say one more thing before I go, because I keep on thinking of stuff, but I'm like, based on who y'all know me to be, it would have been much easier for me just to figure out a way to defend my points and argue than to lie about it. Like the type of personality that I have, like if I feel like what I'm saying needs to be processed properly, I am going to argue my point, just like I did earlier in the video with the point that I told y'all I was trying to make. Like, you don't think I would have anticipated backlash on those comments in the same way that I'm anticipating backlash on my comments about the weave? Like, if I was confident enough to make the statements in the video, you don't think I'd at least try to defend it and get you to see why my point of view is valid? I think before you accuse me of being dishonest, you definitely have to deal with that part first. But I'm done. I'm about to go to bed.